Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Cece, for those of you new, and I am on a health and wellness transformation journey to lose 150 plus pounds. Was at 111 pounds lost on my journey so far. And the idea was to not really post anything that I was filming until I hit my goal, and then do like a rewind, submit everything, upload everything as kind of like a, hey, look, this is where I made it. Now I'll let you see the progress. If you read the title of this video, you will know that things are changing in my life. So we have a lot to talk about today, and it's a lot easier if I'm like doing something. So I'm going to do my makeup while I talk about these new life transitions that we're facing unexpectedly, which might also mean that I'll be posting sooner than I expected. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe you guys would be interested anyways in seeing like slow release of a year ago when I was gonna have a baby. Anyways, let's get down to it. Okay, let me get started. So first thing, I had my son 15 months ago. And obviously he's 15 months old. And my husband and I had decided we were done. I mean, I always said like, yeah, hey, I would have another one, but I knew my husband didn't really want one. And by the time my son turned 1, and I've been on this health journey for so long and having so much success, running 5Ks, like hit the over the 100-pound mark of loss, I started thinking about all the positives of not having another, in terms of like, we can go on more vacations, and working from home is going to become easier, and nap times won't have to happen as frequently. Just like lots of positives. So by the time my son turned 1, I had pretty much been 100% convinced that we were done with the 2, boy and girl. I had gotten the IUD at my 6-week postpartum visit at the doctor, like I was supposed to. And, I thought everything was going well. I thought I was protected, 99.9%, right? That's what they claim or something. So about, almost a month ago now, I guess, I was not feeling good. Like, I had gone on a run, and it wasn't that long of a run, but it was super cold, like 30 degrees out, and I felt awful. I was like, I'm dying, I think in another video talk about how my body was like, my muscles were tensing and seizing up. Like, again, not like a seizure, but like, just like every single muscle was cramping and tightening, and I was like, what's happening with my body? And I felt so tired. I just felt like I couldn't recover. So for like a whole week after that, I did not feel good. I was sleeping a ton. And I, like, my stomach was off. I would sleep 9 hours at night and wake up the next day and be like, oh, I just need to take a nap. And then, like a week later, sitting there with my daughter, and I was like, how come I cannot keep my eyes open? This is insane. And I stopped, and I think my period was due that day or like the day before. It was like coming. And I thought, there's no way I could be pregnant, right? I have the IUD. Like, there's no way. You hear the horror stories of people who have like IUD accidents, but it's like 1 in a million, right? Like, there's no way that's me. It was me. So I take a test. I like go into the bathroom. I luckily just had one random test left over in my bathroom. So I go to the bathroom, I, take the test, and immediately, Like, not delayed, not waiting for 5 minutes, immediately 2 lines. And I was like, what is that? What just happened? What did I just witness? So I freaked out, called my husband, like, we have a problem here. And, you know, he like didn't believe me. Obviously it was like, how? What does it mean with the IUD? Blah, 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 which I had no answers for, of course. So I called the doctor immediately and I said, yeah, I have an IUD and I just took a positive pregnancy test. And some of them were like laughing, like, oh, that's crazy, that's nuts, congrats, you know, and you're like freaking out. Like, admittedly, full honesty through this whole thing here, I was freaking out. Like, whoa, what? My whole entire life might have just flipped on its head, right? And like, it's hard to explain. So first of all, shock, disbelief. No way. There's no way this is positive. How is this positive? How am I going to have a third kid? I'm going to have a third kid. What are we going to do about the car? What are we going to do with the house? What are we going to do about money? What are we, like, immediately, right? But then also this small little piece of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have another little baby. There's a baby inside me. Because I love being a mom and I love my kids so much. So a million emotions immediately happening all at once in my head. So I go to the doctor that day. They were able to get me in. And they say we have to take the IUD out. Like, if you really are pregnant, which we'll do a test here, we have to take the IUD out immediately because it's too much danger to the baby, you know, and possibly to you. I was like, okay. And they said, just so you know, there's a really good chance that this will basically cause a miscarriage when we're pulling it out of you. And then again, roller coaster, boom, crash. Okay, I just found out I'm about to have a baby. There's a living creature inside of me that is a mix between my husband and I, and now it's not going to be there anymore. Now you're going to just yank it out with this IUD. And so, you know, I mean, you have to do it. There's no other option. So they went in there and they were looking for the IUD, and they're like, we're having a really hard time finding it. We can't find the strings, blah, blah, blah. They're digging around, trying to find everything. They're like, let's try an ultrasound. And so they did an ultrasound in the office, and they're like, we just can't find it. I don't know where it went. And so I had to go to like the radiology department, and they tried to look for it. No, we're not seeing it anywhere. So all in all, apparently the sucker fell out or migrated out. We don't know, because they can't do an x-ray to confirm where it is while I'm pregnant, right? So that happened. So I was early, super early, like 4.5 weeks when I found out, which is super early. You know, both my other kids I found out ridiculously early too, like 3 to 4 weeks early with my other ones. And I thought, really, for this one I could have found it at like 6 weeks and, like, you know, skipped a couple extra weeks of worry and stuff. But anyways, that's how it worked out. So I find out 4.5 weeks, and you know, of course it's early. I've had a miscarriage before, and so it's like, this is so new and so fresh and so fragile. Like, is this real? But it's real. Like, there's a baby growing inside me. So we go through a whole new process of what life is going to look like. We start talking about it and visualizing it and getting prepped mentally for it and everything else that goes along with it. And I was starting to get excited. Of course, still terrified and so much to worry about. But my thought was, all right, we at least have to get to 12 weeks before we can really start thinking about, you know, what sort of nursery thing we have to deal with. Now, we're blessed enough to have a house that can easily accommodate another child. So, you know, that isn't something, we don't have to worry about moving. And we do have a car that has a 3rd row. So we don't have to worry about necessarily getting a new car. But I'm from a family with 2 kids. His family is of 2 kids. We don't know, how do you have 3 kids in a car seat in one car? Like, how does that work? So I gotta YouTube that probably to get some answers. But anyways, a week later, so I found out on a Tuesday. Wednesday, a week later, I start bleeding heavily, like I had spotted occasionally in past pregnancies, a little bit, you know, here and there, but whew, this was like bleeding. And I was 100% convinced I had lost the baby. And it all made sense, you know, like they're digging around in there looking for the darn IUD. This thing came out of complete shock and surprise. Like, it's up against insane odds. The fact that it could even be strong enough to survive in the first place was low. And so as I'm bleeding that day, I was like, you're sad because I just spent a week getting excited about this and talking myself up into this crazy unexpected circumstance, and now we're going, you know, oh, it's gone now again, bye, see ya, what an interesting week you just had. So I was convinced, and I called the doctor. I said, yeah, I'm bleeding pretty heavily, and they're like, oh, okay, well, why don't you come in and let us see you? And, you know, even from the tone of the doctors, it was kind of like, you guys know too, right? Like, it's gone. I get into the doctor's office that day, and she said, oh, lots of women bleed in pregnancy, and it means absolutely nothing. Like, come again? So she does a little ultrasound there in the office, and sure enough, we're all good to go. The sacs, you know, there. We didn't have a heartbeat yet because it was still ridiculously early, like 5.5 weeks early. And so she's like, just come back in on Monday, and we'll see if there's a heartbeat. I'm like, oh my gosh. This is literally now hour to hour that we're operating off of. By the way, if the makeup looks like a mess, it's because I'm doing it like in my phone while talking. So just, you know, don't make fun of me too bad. Anyways, so we've got just, we're going back on Monday now after I'm bleeding, and I'm spotting like every day, every single time I go to the doctor, I'm spotting more and more and more. And not more, but just still, you know, you're like, you thought this might clear up in a day, haha, think again, not a chance. And so I just watched and waited, and when I went on Monday, I was like, I mean, I'm not going in with high hopes here. I'm not going in thinking that, like, oh, my baby. Like, I'm like, what am I supposed to be thinking at this point? It's just nuts. It's just nuts. I've never been through so much mental just roller coaster, I don't think, ever in my life. So, anywho, going on Monday, and there's a little heartbeat, little babe just cranking away in there. So the bleeding, they think, was a subchorionic hematoma, which is basically just like a buildup of a clot that's, I don't know if it's behind the sac, in the uterus, something like that, but it doesn't affect the sac, but your body can expel it, which you get a big gush, heavy bleeding, and then it kind of tapers off, which we're now tapered off. But yeah, so I am 7.5 weeks pregnant. What? And while that would be shocking in and of itself, I obviously have a lot of other emotions beyond all the ones I've already mentioned in terms of my weight loss journey. And I know that this is probably going to be controversial, and that's okay. I have worked so hard and have been working so hard to get to a point in my health journey that I was like, I'm comfortable, but I wanted to hit my goal. You know, I was so close to seeing the next step and being at the next point and like getting to the 100s. Like, that was in view. I was starting to look up plastic surgery to help with skin removal because that's going to be an issue in another 40 pounds. And, you know, that was kind of the vision I was having for the future of my year. And I definitely wasn't planning on getting bigger and gaining 20 to 30 pounds potentially, and then having to start all over. And so that's been really, really challenging for me, is that part, and wrapping my head around that. I know I have the skills and the tools to get back to where I am and beyond after I have this beautiful baby. I know that, but it doesn't change the fact that it's scary. And I don't know how many of you have experienced this, but it's hard. And I don't know, I wasn't prepared. I'm a big time planner and I was not prepared. And I am struggling with that. I would never, ever, ever sacrifice any part of this beautiful gift for my own selfish reasons or wants. But the reason I did decide to kind of film this and get you guys involved in this portion now that this is such a surprise is just because it's gonna be another journey of like a lot of grit, a lot of perseverance. I obviously have to be smart about what I eat. I can't do any sort of like mindset of eating for two, obviously, but I also want you also can't be like, oh, I'm on a strict calorie deficit now because, there's too much at stake. So I'm finding that balance. I'm learning it every day. I'm still tracking everything I put in my mouth. I'm still working out 4 to 5 times a week through the nausea, through the exhaustion. And yeah, I just thought that I would document it. So at least once a week, I'm going to document how I'm feeling, my fears, my nerves, and also just how I'm trying to maintain the health through it. Having lost 110 plus pounds, going into this 50, 60, almost 70 pounds lighter than I have either of my other pregnancies, like, how's it gonna be? What's it gonna be like? And how am I gonna handle it mentally? So that's what we're doing. We're gonna do that. We're gonna check in once a week, and if something does go wrong, if something bad happens, that's part of life and that's part of the journey too. And I'm not gonna just delete all these and ignore it, because this is, I keep telling myself it's not the end of the journey. It's just a detour for a year, less than a year, right? 7.5 more months or however many months. And then I can be back on my journey and hit my goal. And in the meantime, have a beautiful baby to love and a child to watch grow up and laugh with, and have so much joy with that. So come along with me as that happens, and we'll just take it a day at a time. And I'm like halfway done with my makeup, but that's fine, right? We're done talking. Okay. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week at 8 weeks. I have an appointment next Friday, so maybe I'll check in after that, show some ultrasound pics, talk about the heartbeat, if there is one. And yeah, we'll just do a little check-in every week. Maybe I'll do like a what I eat, grocery hauls with the cravings, as well as trying to be healthy. Lots of components here. So thanks so much. Talk to you later.